再びジオンの理想を掲げるために、星の屑成就のために、ソロモンよ、私は帰ってきた。
BGVP's new flagship, the Solomon. The reason there are two of them here is because while I was working on my last review, a fan suggested, hey, why not make your next video a comparison between the BGVP Solomon and the Audio Monarch 4. Funny thing is that although the audio stuffs are made here in China, they don't actually have a dealer domestically, which makes it a bit tricky getting one. So instead, I rented a Solomon with stock cable just to demo it. Turns out it's way more lively and engaging than I expected. I really like it, so I decided to actually buy one for a full review. Let's start with packaging. Normally I wouldn't include unboxing in my review. I'd make that a separate short video instead. But this time, I'll just have to talk about it, because the packaging is seriously on the luxury goods level. Honestly, it feels even more refined than some IEM that costs $2,000 or $3,000. The outer package is a solid plastic box, and when you open it, you are immediately hit with that high contrast color scheme. It's visually striking, and the box itself is beautifully made. Honestly, it makes me feel like the price tag is totally justified, especially considering that I bought mine secondhand. The shells are made from resin, finished in a striking sparkly blue that shifts from midnight to bright sky on the changing light. The overall craftsmanship is quite refined, and there's one little detail I really appreciate. The stock ear tips actually have their brand name BGVP printed on them, although I'm guessing most audiophiles will just toss them aside for their own tips. BGVP includes not one but two cables, the stock cable and the tempo upgrade cable. Both match the IEM's color scheme perfectly, which is another nice little touch aside from the ear tips. I'll go over the differences between the two cables separately, and I'll upload the recordings. See if you can spot the difference between the two. Back to the cables. This actually reminds me of trends I've been noticing in the industry, like the High Senior Mega 5 I reviewed earlier. It also came with an upgrade cable called White Wolf, and that stock cable was literally shipped outside the main box. It's like the brands now just assume you are going to think the stock cable is trash, so they get you an upgraded one right out of the box. Considering Solomon is a 9-driver IEM with 2 DD, 3 BA, 2 EST, and 2 BCD, you can bet the shell isn't going to be small. I'll put the measurements up here for you, and you are more than welcome to check out my database if you want to compare sizes with other IEMs I reviewed. About the sound, the bass comes in at a moderate quantity, never overwhelming. What really stands out is its speed and tightness. I'd say it's a quite crispy one. Notes hit clean, decay quickly, and leave very little resonance behind. That means there's no extra warmth bleeding into the mids or coloring the overall tonality. It's a bass that prioritizes transient response and neutrality. Its strength lies more in the thump rather than hitting you real hard. Mids are quite neutral as well, not warm, not cold. When it comes to instruments, violins and violas carry plenty of detail in plucks and bowing texture. And with this stock cable, vocals sit slightly forward, somewhere between intimate and natural distance. Looking at the graph, it's clear why. Instead of following the typical 3000 Hz peak, the bump is shifted forward a bit. That's one of the ways to bring vocals closer, and the other one is to raise the gain of the 2000 Hz to 4000 Hz region. The treble comes across as vibrant, clean, and airy. It's full of information, and you can really hear that in instruments like the piccolo. The piccolo shines with a crispy brilliance. Every note sparkles like fine glass, very transparent, and the treble extends very well, together with subtle harmonics. Looking at the graph, there's a peak around 5000 Hz that helps vocals pop out with more clarity and energy. enhancing details like shifts in a singer's mouth shape. And the whole 5000 Hz to 8000 Hz range carries elevated energy, which brings out highest clarity and extension. This explains why the treble feels so detailed and alive. But the risk of this kind of tuning is excessive sibilance because it falls exactly into the sibilance region. But thankfully, the EST driver keeps it smooth and without sibilance. And much like Fugaku, there's also a peak up in the ultra highs to add air. In practice, this really shows with strings. They feel like they are warped in a halo of air, with enough space around each one of them to keep the mix open and spacious. The soundstage also left a strong impression on me. It's grand, almost like sitting inside a concert hall. Instruments are well arranged, given proper breathing room by the sense of air around them, and placed naturally across the stage. Depths, widths, and vertical layering are all well executed. As always, I'll be upfront about where the flaws are. First off, like I mentioned earlier, there's a noticeable peak around 5000 Hz. In fact, the extra gain could affect texture of bass as well. Yep, you heard it right, bass. Specifically, it makes the upper bass and lower mids become a bit crispy, which some will love it, but some won't. Mids is where I find another limitation. The density isn't particularly high. On vocals you might not notice it. They come across as light and lively. But on higher pitched strings, like violins and violas, the note body, or to say the imaging, feels a little thin sometimes. That's it. Now about the stud cable versus the templar cable. Let me keep this as short and clear as possible. Strictly speaking, I wouldn't call Tempo an upgrade cable. The stud cable actually sounds more musical. It brings vocals and instruments slightly closer, a little more upfront, and even make their imaging feel a bit larger. This translates into a more engaging and intimate feeling. Tempo, on the other hand, lean toward technical refinement. It creates a bit more distance between you and the imagings, opening up the depth space and giving instruments more space so that they can better separate themselves from one another. That makes it sound more holographic. So, in conclusion, the Solomon's tuning is vibrant and energetic. This is one of these IEMs that immediately strikes you the moment you put it on. I think it punches above its price point. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know which IEMs you'd like me to compare or review next. See you next time.